Welcome to Sharing Sox, the We Are Heading North to Milwaukee edition. I am Southside Sox duty geezer Leigh Allan. With me, my son and West Coast correspondent Will, and with us, our cheesehead correspondent Jonathan Schroerlucke, who is going to fill us in on the Brewers side of a weekend series that, once we say this, the games are going to be 14-12, but is on paper going to have the greatest starting pitching of any series you could ever dream of on both teams. The matchups are absolutely incredible. White Sox, of course, in the past week took 2 out of 3 from Houston, including 2 terrific starting pitching performances by 2 of the guys who will go this weekend, Lucas Giolito and Carlos Rodon. Split with Minnesota, and really, frankly, there was late inning heroics, which were a whole lot of fun. Only did that because Minnesota has no bullpen, and the comeback was made very possible. There's no Josh Hader on the Twins, and so we're going to get to that series, and that's what we really want to talk about. But first of all, the big news with the White Sox and White Sox fans is the Yermín Mercedes. We're recording this on Thursday. On Wednesday, said he's retiring, and I'm curious, Jonathan, because you have some Sox connections, and let's talk about your Sox connections, what they are first, and then get into what, as a National League fan, you see on Mercedes. What I know you've been to a Sox game because Will's bachelor party was at one.
That was a fun one.
We got to sit there and talk to Yermín Sanchez for a while.
Yeah, that was a fun one. And of course, living in Chicago and being friends with Will, we went down to Sox games all the time. But for me, it started earlier. I was actually a White Sox fan before I was a Brewers fan, mainly because I didn't realize Wisconsin had a baseball team. But that was, mid 90s. And, you had Frank Thomas and Robin Ventura and Jim Abbott and all those guys on that team. And, the Brewers had no one.
Well, they would have had Paul Molitor for a little bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, we had Paul Molitor and Robin and a couple other guys, but once we start getting into those late 90s teams,
it's
especially
no one.
Switched over to the NL, there's just nothing there. So but yeah, no, I mean, eventually my brother talked some sense into me and became big Brewers fan. But once Will and I were roommates together, I mean, one of the first memories I have is us waiting on Ticketmaster to get White Sox World Series tickets,
Yeah, good
waiting
luck.
to get it back in 2005. So that was a blast. And get
we had a team of about 40 computers going for that. None of us got anywhere with it.
It was pretty early in our college career. It was, a month in, and I feel like I asked every person that I knew well enough to ask at that point to get on Ticketmaster at 10 a.m. exactly and try to do it, and none of us got through. None of us.
No.
We should call this, when it's sharing your White Sox love, we call it sharing socks, of course, but maybe for Brewers, it's sharing your stout, since we're dealing with beer here.
I forgot to mention one thing. Jonathan was he's the designer of our logo for Sharing Socks.
Oh, yeah.
Which we appreciate very much.
So to our 6 listeners, including Yermín, if you're listening today, if you're looking for a new Yerminator logo or any logo, Jonathan has got you. He did a great logo for our Sharing Socks podcast. It's really, really awesome. If you haven't seen it, very cool. So we thank you for that. And because he knows nothing about baseball, that's the only reason we've invited him on today. But no, let's move on to talk about Yermín a little bit. I don't want to speculate a ton about what's going on here because we don't really know. Let's start by saying he had a very cryptic Instagram post. His profile picture was gone, and all photos of him with the White Sox are gone from his Instagram, which is really a mind-blowing development considering where we were 2 months ago. And just the post El Retiro, question mark, with a little thinking face. And then followed up,
Retiro, please.
yeah, retiro, and then followed up by an "It's over" Instagram post. Social media is social media is social media, so we can only take that as important as it is. But Yermín is a loud, outspoken social media presence, so to see him delete his past is very shocking. His uncle has since come out and said that he spoke with Yermín, and it has to do with his treatment by the White Sox, of course, being sent down. But then apparently he asked for a trade or asked to be released, and the White Sox said, no, we're going to keep you in Charlotte. He also asked for opportunities to catch at the big league level that were not given to him. So, Geezer, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts on Yermín?
Well, I want to get to Jonathan's because as an outsider from the Sox family, as it were, Sox fans, I'm sure, when Tony La Russa was hired, it really goes back to this. Most of us, overwhelming majority of Sox fans, hated that idea. A small minority love it. There's a minority of Sox fans that affix their lips to Mr. La Russa's butt, our Hall of Famer baseball person's butt, and will not let go no matter what happens. My own thoughts is that the whole downfall of Mercedes had two things, but it started with the very famous incident where La Russa threw him under the bus on this 3-0 count, 15-4 game, 47-mile-an-hour eephus pitch that he hit 420 feet, as if he let that one go. He was going to get a different pitch the next time. They were all the same pitch. It didn't matter whether he did a 3-0 or 3-1 or 3-2. But then not only came screaming out that he shouldn't have swung at the ball like some insane madman telling little kids to keep off his grass, but telling the other team that they should throw at him, basically, to throw at his own player. Insanity. But La Russa is an incredibly arrogant jerk, and it comes under that category. Now, that's not the only thing that was the downfall of Yermín Mercedes, although they're related, because pitchers learned how to pitch him better. That was working, and as a consequence, he started swinging at things that he wasn't swinging at earlier. He started swinging at bad pitches, and of course, his batting average plummeted. But it all goes back to that time. That's what we see it as White Sox fans. But Jonathan, you're sitting up there, you're Madison, you're a Brewers fan, you're paying attention to the National League. Did any of this even enter into the...
No, it really did. It really did. This morning I woke up and, as I was paying attention to all my baseball threads, everyone was confused. Everyone was confused as to what was happening, and just the total mystery around it and prospecting of, why would he leave? What's going on? And there was people wondering if it was lost in translation, if maybe his Instagram, which was in Spanish, maybe it actually meant like just taking an indefinite leave. Maybe he's going to come back. But, I will say I'm not surprised, just given La Russa and the overall ownership of the White Sox. La Russa being stubbornly old school, and just, he seems like a man lost in a new era. I don't know how much he's actually coaching those guys or how much they're just going out and playing, but
there's kind of multiple trains of thought going on. The one being that the La Russa moment had a lot to do with this, and then the La Russa diehards just violently attacking everyone on Twitter who feels that way. You can argue it to an extent. You can say, look, this isn't the only thing, and of course it's not the only thing that led to it. But when you look at batting nearly 400 before the moment and then batting 190 after that, they didn't figure out how to pitch him overnight. That's the thing. People are saying, oh, they figured out how to pitch him, and it's got nothing to do with La Russa. Well, the dude dropped off overnight.
Yeah.
And that doesn't tend to happen. You don't see a position player throw an eephus pitch, a guy knock it out of the park, and then think, I know how to pitch this guy. Just don't throw him eephus pitches. He likes eephus pitches, so let's just avoid those.
Well, and you take it with any other team, put that situation on any other team, and have a manager throw their player under the bus and tell another team to throw at him. Like,
Yeah.
if Council did that with the Brewers, like he'd be out. He'd be
Yeah,
out.
they're
David
gone.
Stearns would have no trouble saying, "Okay, you're gone." Like, we don't do that. We don't want that.
And
I don't know.
people will shit on us on the website or on Twitter for our stance on blaming La Russa for this, and I do mostly blame La Russa for this, and here's why.
Inexcusable.
What he did was completely inexcusable. We saw an instant drop off, and then the La Russa boneheads argue, well, they had a great relationship after that because of the few images of them hugging or whatever. Well, we've got the image where La Russa pretends he's going to punch Yermín in the face, and Yermín is like, ha, ha, ha. And everyone's like, see, they're buddies. And I'm like, no, that's actually toxic garbage behavior from La Russa.
View it as if one of those is dealing with some mental health issues because of a
Exactly.
toxic work environment. Like,
Yeah,
then it's no
exactly.
longer funny, haha. You know,
Yeah,
put it in any other
think
work context.
You can see the effect, even though, yes, they learned how to pitch him when he was swinging badly. A very important part to any baseball player, but I think particularly to Yermín, is having incredible confidence. Your level of confidence when you step to the plate or on the pitching rubber is all important. We see that every day. Talk about body language with Dylan Cease of the White Sox. You can tell when he's on the mound, is he going to be good or not from just the way his body moves.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Yermín lost that confidence almost immediately. He wasn't stepping up there like a guy who's, I'm going to take you deep right now. He was stepping up there like a guy going, I guess I'll find one to hit, I hope.
It was a total shift in plate approach. When he pre La Russa incident, whenever a pitch was coming in, his entire body was invested in every single pitch. So he was following sliders with his entire body as they went across the plate. He was following fastballs up and in with his entire body. After that moment, he started just standing in the box. And that to me was a huge sign that someone said, you don't play the way you play the way we tell you to play. And that is when the decline happened. And it's really unfortunate. I think anyone who doesn't at least partially blame La Russa for all this is an idiot. And if you're listening to this and want to come at me on Twitter for it, have at it. But you're an idiot if you think that La Russa had nothing to do with Yermín's downfall, and now the fact that we're not seeing Yermín in. And if he did indeed say, I want to trade, I want out, screw the White Sox for not letting him go, because you can see from a mile away that he's not coming back up to the show. Even though Steve Stone tweeted today, well, they would have added 2 people and Yermín's got a shot at that. Yermín doesn't have a shot at that because we were watching Eloy Jimenez play minor league baseball right now. We watched Luis Robert get an RBI last night. Those guys are coming back. They are coming back. So I don't believe that there is a spot. Plus, we might still trade for another catcher. It's just not going to happen. Yermín, if he says, I want to trade, I say, great, buddy.
I would say we're going to look at, a trade requires 2 people. They have to trade for somebody. And that limits it to American League teams who are looking for a DH, but there are some.
There are some, for sure.
Yeah. I thought another final straw possibility, although it hasn't come up in anything in the past day, is that they signed, and I forget the guy's name now, but they picked up some guy for cash considerations to be nothing but catcher depth in Charlotte. A guy with about 4 major league at-bats, all of which were strikeouts or something like it.
Is that Zavala?
They're bringing in another backup catcher
another guy.
To take away from Yermín's time. If you want him to be a catcher, he needs time to catch down in AAA, although he's had some there, but he needs some more. If you're saying, you don't move well to your right or whatever the hell it is, he needs to be somewhere where he can practice that. He can throw runners out. He did that all spring training, was far better than even Yasmani Grandal, let alone, Zach Collins is a joke. But they bring up Seby Zavala. He doesn't, it's just, his treatment was extremely bad by this, not just La Russa, but by the whole system. Hahn's responsible for some of this as well, I think.
I'm surprised we didn't see more, all-stars like Tim Anderson coming out and saying and calling out La Russa. I mean, I know after the incident, they all had his back and they're saying, congrats, we'd have done the same thing, whatever. But like, was he that much of a, black sheep in the locker room?
Well, the La Russa bonehead fans will say like, "Oh, the players credit Tony with all this stuff now, and Steve Stone loves Tony, and what do you know more than Steve Stone?" Well, all of those people are getting paid by the guy who pays Tony, so it doesn't usually happen that a bunch of players come out and crap all over their manager when they're in first place. When the people signing their paychecks are the people who employed said manager. Also, Steve Stone being the broadcaster for the White Sox, highly unlikely he's going to come out and crap all over La Russa while the team is in first place. He's legitimately paid to not do that. Same with Benetti, who doesn't do it. I mean, it's just absurd. This whole thing makes me sick to my stomach. I feel so bad for Yermín. I know Yermín is an emotional guy, and he's probably overreacting to some of this. I'm really glad that we're not in the place we were last night where people were saying we can't find Yermín, because that had me very concerned for his health and his well-being. Yermín, I doubt you're listening, but if you are listening, we love you, dude. We hope this gets figured out. We'd love to see you back on the White Sox. If not, I hope you do get to go and play somewhere else far away from Tony La Russa. And just know that
Japan would be good.
Yeah, if we ever have to choose between La Russa and Yermín, I'm choosing Yermín 100 out of 100 times. So hope you're doing okay. But let's take a break here. I'm sure we'll have an update on Yermín next week and see what happens there. Let's take a quick break, and we are going to come back and talk about the series we have coming up against the Brewers, which, I mean, come on, guys. For a regular season series, this is what it's all about. This is what you hope for. And I will say, full disclosure right here, the Brewers are my second favorite team. So I am biased against, I'm very biased in thinking this series is particularly amazing. It used to be the Astros. They used to be my second favorite team, but now they don't exist. So I'm a full-blown Brewers are my NL team. But let's take a quick break, and we will come back and talk about these insane pitching matchups on Sharing Sox. All right, welcome back to Sharing Sox. This is it, guys. We're living the dream this weekend. We got two first place teams well ahead in first place, and they're going to treat us to, I don't know, the best regular season pitching series matchups in decades, years. I don't know. You look at World Series pitching matchups, and they're almost never this good. So
if the over has anybody looked at the over under on any of the games? Is it like 2?
I don't know, actually. I should look at that because it's definitely, it's going to be interesting. And as you said before, there's a really good chance we're now going to look at a game that's 17-16 and that kind of thing. I remember, I think I've mentioned it on the podcast, but when that huge Chris Sale from Boston coming back to Chicago to face Jose Quintana game, and we all went with some buddies, and Eric Lachlan, who's been on the podcast, one of them, and we just everyone was saying it's going to be a 19-inning game. It's going to be 2-1. The game ended up being 5 hours, and the final score was like 14-11 or something like that. Sale and Quintana had both thrown 100 pitches in the third inning and were both out by the fourth. So hopefully that's not what we're looking at. But Geezer, do you want to walk us through these matchups?
Yeah, let me just to give you the matchups to go. Lucas Giolito versus Freddie Peralta on Friday night.
In what is the lousy matchup of the three?
Yeah, right.
That's the worst one. Peralta's only a 2.39 ERA, so he hardly counts. the big one, the really big one, and I would think fans of both teams look at this as game one of the World Series coming up in October. Carlos Rodon against Corbin Burns. And I looked at Peralta has actually been pretty lucky. When you look at it, his FIP is quite a bit higher than his ERA. Burns with a 2.16 ERA has been really unlucky. He's got a 131 FIP. And then Sunday, Lance Lynn, who was not as sharp as usual in his last outing on Monday against the Twins, but got away with it due in large part to some great defensive plays, which we don't get many of. And against Brandon Woodruff with a 2.04 ERA. This is crazy. Tell us about these starting pitchers, Jonathan.
Yeah, it's a rotation. A lot of us Brewer fans are still in disbelief that we have. It's weird when you think about the Brewers team and your former MVP is not the best player on the team, but 3 of your pitchers are. And that's never happened for the
Actually,
Brewers.
4 haters.
And Hader. Yeah. I mean, if you include that, it's unreal. I mean, the 5 all-stars that we have.
We're dealing with the same thing at the White Sox. We've got, our MVP Jose is now heating up, thank goodness. But we're kind of in the same spot where before the season started, we were talking about our unhittable bullpen, and now we're sitting here going, holy crap, the starting rotation. And then to see the same thing happening in Milwaukee, it's so freaking cool. But sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no. I mean, Peralta, for a control guy like him, and he's been a Brewers favorite for a long time, watching him come up and getting some playing time a lot last year and the year before. And now what he's doing, it's so much fun to watch. And he's such a lovable character. So he's a fan favorite. We love him. I think
what's he throw? Can you give us a quick bit on what we're going to look for in these pitchers?
So, I think for him, if he's on, we could see him go mid-7th. He doesn't throw that fast. I think he has some low 90s stuff that we'll be doing, but he's one where he will be trying to make the batters chase him. He'll try and throw some junk at him on occasion, but he's fun. But in his game, I think that's the game that could go 17 hits, like potentially, or I'm sorry, 17 runs. Brewers do well against right-handed pitching. We struggle against left-handed. We're okay at home, but we're actually better on the road, which is weird. So for this first game, if Peralta's off, I could see the White Sox just cleaning house on him. If he's on, I think it's going to be close. I think it'll be close.
From our side, it's actually very similar with Giolito this year. Giolito is very hot and cold this year. He is still our ace. I still consider Giolito our ace, even though we have 2 other aces now as well, like the Brewers. But I would agree with you on that. I think if we're going to have a high-scoring game, it's going to be Friday night. There's going to be insane energy in the artist formerly known as Miller Park. And I think these 2 teams, they play a very similar style of baseball.
Yeah.
They play with a ton of confidence. They play with sort of fun being the most important thing first. Like when I watched the Brewers play this year and when I watched the White Sox play this year, it almost seems like you're watching the best Little League World Series teams because the excitement is there, the fun, the energy. White Sox fans have been showing up, bringing the energy. I think Brewers fans are some of the best fans in baseball. And, they will, for a first place series against the South Side team, they are going to be there this weekend.
Yeah.
I think we will see full stadium of fans at Miller Park or whatever it's called, Great Family Insurance Stadium. I don't know what
something. Who knows?
Yeah, something. And then that'll take us into Saturday, which gets us to Burns and Rodon. One thing to mention about these matchups is that the White Sox are not going to face a lefty, which traditionally is where we kind of clean up. We do actually have a left-handed power bat. This is a great time to have Gavin Sheets sort of figuring out the left-hand side of the plate for us. But we are going to face righties. You just mentioned that the Brewers don't hit lefties as well. Is that what you said?
Yeah, no, we're great at righties. Lefties, when we're facing them and starting pitching, I think we're 10-10. I think we're 500. So
cool. So that makes Saturday.
Wait, you have any, because just to leave the pitching for a moment, that strangely, it's two ex-White Sox are two of your biggest hitters, Omar Narvaez and Avi Garcia, who seems to come back out of nowhere every year.
Every year.
Place.
Man, he's been fun to watch. Like, I mean, I know for a lot of Brewers fans, we were looking at the roster this year going, who are these guys? Like, we don't recognize any of these names. You know, where's Braun? You know, where's Yelich? I mean, and all these things. And yeah, Garcia's been so much fun. And talk about just energy at the plate and what he brings to the field and to the clubhouse. I mean, it's wonderful. But you guys also got our former Brewer and your catcher there. So
that's
Mr.
true.
Walkathon over there.
Yeah, he's currently not with us. Rest in peace, Yasmani. Hopefully he'll be back at some point. Yeah, I mean it's pretty shocking. Avi is kind of a fan favorite wherever he is. Everyone kind of loves Avi when he's there because of that energy he brings to it. Omar Narvaez, to me, every year Avi pops up and is pretty good wherever he is. Omar Narvaez being good is just
No, he was awful for the Sox. Just awful.
Sort of understand. He's the guy that when you have him on your team in a video game, you turn off unfair trades so you can trade him immediately. I don't understand where he's coming from, but
he was great last year too.
Love to see it. Yeah.
I credit that. I mean, I'm biased, of course, but I credit that to the clubhouse mentality there. I mean, being, you know, Wisconsin sports fans, we always say we're classic Midwest. We don't get ahead of ourselves. We're humble. We don't brag. You know, we'll be the first person to say, yeah, we're probably going to lose today. You know, but you saw it in Milwaukee with the Bucks and their clubhouse mentality of just
congratulations, Wisconsinite, on the Bucks.
I had a lot to do with it.
I know. You're Giannis's right-hand man.
I do think there's
Pat Connaughton when you're playing basketball.
This is true.
The name you go by.
True. Yes.
But yeah, we're back to baseball.
No, but I do think there's something to the
Corbin Burns, who was amazing.
Man, and we know he does not walk a lot. So he's going to be pitching strikes, and people got to be ready to swing. But if he's on, good luck. I mean, just good luck. You know, it was
same thing with our lefty who's throwing on Saturday, Carlos Rodon. If he's on, I mean, I just don't know what the Brewers will do with them if they don't hit lefties as well as they hit righties. Rodon is about as nasty of a lefty as the game has to offer right now.
Yeah.
Probably the nastiest lefty of the game at this current time. Who do you think has the edge on Saturday, Jonathan?
On Saturday, I'll give it to the Brewers just because it's home. But I think it's going to be a rubber match. I'm going to say we win the first one, lose the second one, and the third
but
one.
But you just said that the Brewers are going to win on Saturday, so you're going for
you reverse.
Oh,
you're going to lose
Sunday.
the first one.
I'm
win
sorry.
The second one.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised if the White Sox squeak that one out. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, but I bet it'll be a one-run game. Maybe there
was a point preseason where people were talking about the potential for a trade with the White Sox and Brewers before we knew the Brewers were going to be this good. That would have brought Corbin Burns to the White Sox and sent Cody Hoyer and someone else, I'm sure, to the Brewers. And a lot of White Sox fans said, no, that's not enough. And now we are eating dirt every single day because Cody Hoyer is pitching like he's actually on a little league team. Yeah. And Corbin Burns is elite. So let's get to Sunday before we run out of time here, where we are
Lance Lynn versus Brandon Woodruff.
Wow, it just keeps going.
Talk about pitching duel. Oh my gosh.
Woodruff, who has become one of the most fun pitchers to watch in baseball. Lance Lynn, who is the bully of Major League Baseball in the best way, signed a huge extension with the White Sox, which we haven't mentioned yet at this point. And he's with us. He loves playing for the White Sox. This is going to be a hell of a game on Sunday, too.
And he's one of the most efficient pitchers, too, isn't he? I mean, he pitches the shortest games.
And he's
just
a
out there
workhorse. He's
Yeah.
a workhorse. He throws, he
So-
goes deep, he goes hard.
He can have a tendency to throw too many pitches.
Okay.
And be over the 100 mark by early in the 6th inning. So that would be probably the biggest weakness, but there aren't many weaknesses to him. This is the ESPN Sunday night game.
Yeah, this is the kind of game my wife hates to watch because no one will be hitting and I will be glued to the TV going, isn't this amazing? Everything that's happened. Look at it. No one's hitting.
Well, I think we're gonna see balls in play on
Yes.
Sunday. I think we're gonna
Yes.
see balls in play. I think Saturday is gonna be our
Our strikeouts.
our 3 true outcomes game of
Yeah.
strikeout, home run, walk, and probably not walks. So it might be a 2 true outcomes game. Whereas Sunday, I think, is going to be our game where we're going to see whose defense comes ready to shine. Because I do think the White Sox will put the ball in play against Woodruff. I
Yeah.
also think that the Brewers will put the ball in play against Lance Lynn. So it will. This whole matchup is just the whole weekend is going to offer us 3 very different games too, which is what's so exciting. I mean, we could see a very high scoring game. I don't know that we will. But then we could see a couple 0-0s late in the game, some 1-1 games going into late innings. Or on the opposite side, we could see 3 15-14 games that are just a disaster, that destroy both teams' bullpens, and then lead us on a full decline into both teams not making the playoffs. But that one feels dramatic.
We're almost out of time, but bullpen question. Josh Hader for Milwaukee has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Little sense to even walk up to the plate because you're going to strike out and walk back. It looked to me, just looking at stats, because I've not seen any Brewers games, that the secret to success for the White Sox will be at some point between when the starters leave the game and when Hader comes in. It didn't look like those intermediate bullpen guys for the Brewers were very impressive.
No. I mean, we have 1 or 2 that are, dependable and really good, but that's where we've lost games. I'm like on Sunday, I think probably the second time through the lineup against Lance Lynn, we'll start to see some hits. That's where the Brewers, I mean, they are studious when it comes to batting, and they will watch a pitcher, learn what he does. Next time up, they'll get on base somehow. But if we take a lead and we don't have our starting pitcher go late into the game, that's when you hold your breath.
And what's exciting about that is it's the exact same case on the South side. We're in a very similar boat when it comes to that. If our starters are leaving in the 5th, we're in deep doo-doo, because that gives us 3 innings we got to cover to get to Liam Hendricks. And right now, we do not have guys other than Kopech who are really getting that done, and he can't pitch 3 days in a row. So Tron's prediction, Jonathan, we call him Tron around the ale house. He's going to go with a split series for the first 2 days with the Brewers.
2-1 Brewers taking it.
2-1 Brewers. Geezer, what do you got?
Well, I think we can't let that go. I don't think there's any chance the Sox sweep. I think it's going to be 2-1 Sox. I think probably maybe winning games 1 and 2 and losing 3.
Oh, okay.
And I am going to be correct when I say sweep city, baby. We're walking into Milwaukee and we're walking out with 3 dubs. We're going to humiliate the Crew so much that they don't lose another game in the NL Central for the rest of the year. And they beat the Cubs into an oblivion of embarrassment. That is all the time we have today for Sharing Sox. Thank you so much, Jonathan, our cheesehead correspondent. Thank you for me and the Geezer for tuning in. And we will see you next time on Sharing Sox.